Let's get ahead of the market in the NFL and talk early NFL props coming up for championship weekend. There are a few markets that you had interest in, starting with the Rhamondre Stevenson over his longest rush. How come he's going to have a long rush in this game on the road against the Denver Broncos?
Yeah, recently, I'm just going to switch over from NFL to NBA here. So, opening up on the week, there have been he's the longest rush leader. There's only two guys that even have streaks in terms of longest rush that are in the divisional round. It's Stevenson with a rush of 13 plus in 6 straight, and then RJ Harvey is behind him with the longest rush in 4 straight. Nobody else has a streak coming in as on the board right now. With that said, I noticed because obviously we cover this from a fantasy angle as well, and cover all of these games. I have noticed recently that the Denver Broncos have been a little bit more bend don't break, and they've definitely been susceptible to the running back position, and they've kind of just been getting run all over from quarterbacks and running backs recently. We saw Josh Allen have 60 yards on the ground there. James Cook had a really, really strong day as well. Rhamondre's coming in, and you kind of just saw that play out in slow motion. Unfortunate to Texans fans, but when it came time to close the game out, they just relentlessly gave the ball to Rhamondre Stevenson over and over and over again in that final drive in the fourth quarter. Didn't ultimately get there because they still had to give the Texans one more possession. But yeah, that's the intention of how they're trying to run things. And then over the last 5 games, we've seen, I don't really count the Chiefs game that much, but we saw Travis Etienne have a 24-plus yard game. We saw Josh Jacobs have a 40-plus yard gain on them. James Cook had a 20-plus rush on them. So yeah, not as like scary of a rushing matchup. And I think that's how New England can win this game. I'm not sure if you want Drake Maye throwing into this passing defense.
Jessica Brown was saying that Maye's rushing yards is 31.5. That feels kind of high, Jared.
It is high, and it's for a good reason, I promise. This is why I like Josh Allen rushing yards as well. Now, obviously, I think that Josh Allen is Josh Allen. He's just like the running quarterback, at least in this postseason. But the Broncos have allowed, over the last 4 weeks of the regular season, as well as the playoffs, they've allowed the most rushing yards to quarterbacks. So that's why that is high. I saw something out there because Maye obviously has had some fumble issues. I'm curious to see if they'll give him a glove in this matchup. You saw there's some crazy stat. I'll find it and send it to you this week. If anybody wants to Google it, they can. But there was some kind of strange coincidence about how the Patriots adjusted to when Tom Brady had he did not wear a glove for the earlier part of his career, and it resulted in a lot of fumbles. For those who remember and are old enough to remember that, and then they gave him a glove, and he fumbled like a fifth of the time the remainder of his career. So we'll see if Drake Maye can keep the turnovers. It got scary there for a moment.
And we've also got now in this revenge game against his former team, Jarrett Stidham at quarterback. It's going to be tough because you've got about a week to prepare for a playoff game with a shot at going to the Super Bowl. How much of the Jarrett Stidham entering the chat impacts the Will Lutz field goals prop?
Well, on one hand, I think you have Peyton came out and said he had ultimate confidence in this scenario, and I think that obviously is what you're supposed to say in the media conversation. But I think at the same time, it's going to probably just end up being a spot where they end up trusting Lutz in bigger scenarios, and they've kind of leaned in on that over these playoff games and over the last part of the regular season. You also saw New England kind of just really, really focus on getting important stops on third down and trying to limit red zone opportunities. And you saw that pan out to the tune of 3 for 3 for Kaimi Fairbairn in yesterday's game. I was a little bit hesitant on that as well as weather. But yeah, I think this is a spot where when push comes to shove, I don't know how confident Denver's going to be in game scenario to go and say Stidham like 4th and 6 on the 35. Like,
it's all about as long as he could get there. He just has to get them there.
That's what I'm saying. And I think that they can get them there.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we'll see some field goals in this game.
There's a huge injury. Seahawks lose their running back, Zach Charbonnet, to the ACL. He's out, surgery, no more. Kenneth Walker obviously he was supposed to always be the number one back for the Seahawks team, but those two have been nearly impossible to handicap. We don't need to worry anymore about RB2 because we only have now RB1. Obviously, it's going to be baked into the line. What should we be looking at for Kenneth Walker?
Yeah, I feel really bad saying this now, but I was
well, that makes our job a little
my whole
easier.
team was screaming from the rooftops that Kenneth Walker is going to be a top 10 running back this year. And that did not. That was like one of my worst fantasy predictions of the season. I did not expect them to run 50-50 for like the entirety of this. And guess who I picked when it came to like flipping the coin on who to trust last week? It wasn't Kenneth Walker. And Charbonnet came into the game super hot last week. Both backs honestly had a great end of the regular season and postseason. So with that said, you feel relatively confident with Walker after he put up 100 rushing yards on the Rams a couple of weeks ago. Back in the week before Christmas, he had 160 actual, 164 to be exact on the scrimmage number. And I remember that was the game where I had no idea what to do with Seahawks running backs in a really important game. And I believe Kenneth Walker ripped off like 2 huge runs. One was a catch screen pass, and he finished with his best output of the season. You're going to get a market of like 90 rushing yards and like 120 scrimmage yards. It's probably going to be bet up, and people are going to get excited after seeing, there's definitely not going to be Charbonnet, who's probably not going to start the season either. So with that said, we kind of saw the Bears just completely run all over the Rams. That was one thing where I don't think we got enough coverage on that. Obviously, a lot of Caleb stuff, a lot of DJ Moore criticism, but one thing that they did really well last night was they ran extremely effectively. Monungai was awesome. DeAndre Swift was able to hit the corner, and I think that if Seattle can hit the corner effectively, you could see some huge runs for Kenneth Walker. 70% of the last 5 games against the Rams, these running backs have hit, and the ones that have missed, Tyler Algier missed, but we saw Bijan Robinson have a 230 scrimmage yard game against the Rams. You also saw Dowdle miss, but Hubbard did well enough in he had the 2 touchdown game against the Rams a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, it's a weak hole for them at this point, and I don't think that 1 week's going to fix that.
Who is your Super Bowl?
Well, it was Bills Rams. I think that's the story that the league wanted to paint. If you're, scripting things out now, I think you're probably looking at like, I hate to say it, but like, I think it's a fitting repeat of Seahawks Patriots. Wouldn't the league want that?
Yeah, I guess. Even though it's like, is it really? It's no one's the same anymore. Aside
Yeah. I think the feel good story is Denver. I just don't know how you expect them to win in this game.
And even if you win one, you probably get destroyed in the second. So it's easier to come into game 1 with a new quarterback. It's much harder in game 2. But hey, Nick Foles did it, and no one ever thought that would be the case. So you never know with Mr. Jarrett Stidham. We know with you though, Jared Block, you are the best. You come on every Monday and you give us the best analysis in the market. Good luck to the bets tonight in the NBA. We'll talk to you again soon, and I'm sure I'll be in touch before the NFL starts on Sunday.